New Haven Green, Connecticut, March
Mom, look at
1943.
this
The
article.
woman on the
It's about
bench
the
is
new
reading a
park
newspaper.
rules.
The Hartford Courant. She doesn't hear the girl approach. Eleanor Morrison is 14 years old. She's wearing a school uniform. Navy blue skirt, white blouse, Mary Jane shoes polished that morning. Her red blonde hair is braided. She looks 12. "Excuse me, ma'am, are you Patricia Dunham?" The woman looks up, confused. Why is a child asking? Eleanor pulls a Walther PPK from her school bag. The gun is small, 7 rounds, .32 caliber. It fits in the palm of her hand. She aims at the woman's chest, fires twice. The sound cracks across the park. Patricia Dunham jerks backward. The newspaper falls. Blood spreads across her coat, dark and wet against the gray wool. Eleanor places the gun back in her bag. She walks to her bicycle parked against an elm tree, mounts it, rides away down Chapel Street. No one suspects the 14-year-old girl. This is the story of how Eleanor Morrison saved 400 lives with a bicycle basket and a pistol. How she killed 25 Nazis and American traitors before her 17th birthday. And how her country forgot her for 69 years. Her name was Eleanor Morrison, and she discovered that innocence is the deadliest weapon of all. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. Japanese carrier aircraft sink 4 battleships. Damage 4 more. Kill 2,403 Americans. President Roosevelt declares war on Japan the next day. But then something happens that didn't happen in our world. December 15th, 1941. German U-boats surface off the coast of Long Island. 52 submarines, coordinated, simultaneous. They've been waiting, planning, watching. Amphibious forces hit the beaches at dawn. Montauk, Southampton, East Hampton. 20,000 troops. Panzer tanks roll onto American soil for the first time in history. The Atlantic Wall wasn't meant to keep Americans out of Europe. It was meant to protect the invasion force preparing to cross the other way. By January 1942, Nazi forces control New York City. Boston falls 3 days later. Philadelphia surrenders after a week of street fighting that kills 8,000 civilians. Connecticut doesn't fight. The governor orders the National Guard to stand down. Nazi troops march into Hartford without firing a shot. 250,000 American casualties in 6 weeks. 15,000 Jewish families rounded up in the first month. 3,500 resistance fighters executed by summer. The occupation begins. Eleanor Morrison is 13 years old when her world ends. She lives in a 3rd-floor walk-up on Worcester Street in New Haven. The apartment has 2 bedrooms, paper-thin walls, a kitchen with a stove that works half the time. The building smells like cabbage and coal smoke, and too many people living too close together. Her father left when she was 10. Patrick Morrison, longshoreman drinker, violent when drunk. One morning he just didn't come home. Eleanor barely remembers him, just the sound of his work boots on the stairs, the smell of whiskey, the way her mother's face looked the morning after. Her mother is Rose Morrison, 40 years old, former union organizer at the Winchester Repeating Arms Factory. She lost that job for organizing a strike in 1938. Now she cleans houses for families in East Rock. Wealthy families, families who don't know she's a socialist. Rose believes in direct action. She says it all the time. When you see injustice, you don't look away. You act. The apartment has a mattress stuffed with old newspapers. Eleanor shares it with her sister Margaret. Margaret is 15, taller than Eleanor, harder. She dropped out of school at 14 to work in a textile mill, 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week, $17 a month. But Rose always makes room for others. There's Samuel Weiss sleeping in the closet, 67 years old, Jewish, fled from Poland in 1939. He has numbers tattooed on his forearm from a labor camp. He doesn't talk about it. There's Maria Chen in the corner, 23, Chinese. Her family owned a laundry on Crown Street until someone threw a brick through the window with a note that said, "Go home." She's been hiding for 2 months. There's Father Timothy O'Brien from Sacred Heart Church, 35. He gave a sermon about loving your neighbor. The next day, Gestapo came to arrest him. Rose hid him in the apartment. He says Mass and whispers at midnight. Eleanor grows up sharing her bed with strangers whose names she sometimes doesn't know. She learns early, comfort is temporary, conscience is permanent. Rose teaches her daughters one lesson above all others. If you have to help somebody, you make sacrifices for yourself. Eleanor is 13 when the Nazis arrive. She remembers it perfectly. May 10th, 1942, a Sunday. Warm, clear skies. The trucks come at dawn. Wehrmacht soldiers in gray-green uniforms. They set up checkpoints at every intersection. They hang swastika flags from Yale's Sterling Library, from the courthouse, from City Hall. They post notices in English and German. New rules, curfew at 8 p.m., no gatherings of more than 5 people. All Jewish citizens must register within 48 hours. Eleanor watches from the window. German soldiers patrol the street below. Young men, some look barely older than Margaret. They carry rifles, their boots are polished. One soldier looks up, sees Eleanor watching. He waves, smiles. Eleanor doesn't wave back. I remember how people were taken from their homes, she'll say 70 years later. The Germans would bang on doors with rifle butts, so much noise you'd hear it through the entire block. And they would always yell. It was terrifying. The Rosenberg family lives on the second floor. Mother, father, 3 children. The youngest is 6. Eleanor plays with her sometimes. They come for the Rosenbergs on a Tuesday. Gestapo in black uniforms. They kick the door open, drag the family into the hallway. The children are crying. The mother is begging in Yiddish. They load them into a truck. Eleanor watches from the stairs. The 6-year-old girl looks back. Their eyes meet for just a second. Eleanor never sees her again. Jewish families disappear overnight. Trains leave Union Station every Thursday. Long freight cars. No windows. Nobody talks about where they go. But everyone knows. The Morrison family doesn't hide. They resist. Rose starts immediately. She knows people, union organizers, socialists, communists, people who understand that fascism doesn't stop until you stop it. Someone is printing underground newspapers in the basement of a church on Dixwell Avenue. The Free American, 12 pages. Mimeograph machine. They run it at night when the neighborhood sleeps. Rose distributes them, slips them into mailboxes, leaves them on bus seats, drops them in phone booths. Eleanor and Margaret help. They ride their bicycles through the city at night. 2 girls in dark clothes. They carry buckets of paste and rolls of paper. They find German propaganda posters, recruitment posters, posters with Hitler's face, posters that say, "Work for the New Order," posters that promise cheese and prosperity and a bright future under German leadership. Eleanor and Margaret paced over them. America must be free. Don't work for Germany. Every American in their factories puts a German on the front line. Resist. Then they race away on their bicycles, hearts pounding, lungs burning, knowing that if they're caught, they'll be shot. The Nazis have executed resistance fighters for less. They post the names in the newspaper. Print them on flyers, make examples. But Eleanor and Margaret are never caught. 2 young girls on bicycles. Who would suspect them? June 19th, 42. A knock on the door, 9:30 at night, after curfew. Rose opens it carefully, chain still attached. A man stands in the hallway, late 30s, thin, intense eyes, wire-rimmed glasses. He's wearing a brown suit that's seen better days. "My name is Frank Walsh. I need to speak with you." Rose knows who he is. Everyone in the resistance knows Frank Walsh. Former Yale history professor. He taught European politics until the Nazis ordered the university to dismiss all faculty who refused to sign loyalty oaths. Walsh refused, lost his position, went underground. Now he commands the New Haven Resistance Council, coordinates actions, plans sabotage, recruits fighters. Rose lets him in. Walsh sits at the kitchen table, looks at Eleanor and Margaret, studies them. "How old are you?" 13, Eleanor says. Margaret says 15. Walsh nods, looks at Rose. "The Nazis are rounding up resistance members. We're losing people every week. We need fighters who can move through the city without suspicion." "Your daughters?" He pauses. "They've been distributing pamphlets, covering posters. They're good at it?" Rose waits. "Can they join the resistance?" Eleanor feels her heart speed up. Margaret sits perfectly still. Rose doesn't hesitate. "Yes." The girls say yes. Walsh doesn't smile. He just nods. But there's something in his eyes. Not trust. Not yet. Calculation. I need to know if they'll break under pressure, he says. 3 days later, Walsh returns. This time he's wearing a Gestapo uniform. Black wool, silver insignia, officer's cap. He has a Luger pistol in his hand. He doesn't knock. He kicks the door open. The sound is like an explosion in the small apartment. Eleanor jumps. Margaret turns. Rose stands up from the table. Walsh strides in, face hard. He raises the pistol, points it at Rose, starts screaming in German. Wo ist der Jude? Where is the Jew? He switches to English. His accent is perfect. Gestapo officers practice their English. They want to sound American. It makes interrogations more effective. I know you're hiding someone. Tell me now and maybe you live. Stay silent and all three of you die tonight. Eleanor's mind is racing. There is a Jewish man hiding in the apartment, Samuel Weiss. Right now he's in the closet behind winter coats. If they give him up, he dies. If they don't give him up, they die. Walsh points the gun at Eleanor. You, little girl, tell me where he is. Eleanor doesn't speak. Walsh moves closer, presses the barrel against her forehead. The metal is cold. I'll count to 3. 1. Eleanor stares at him. Her hands are shaking. She's 13 years old. She's terrified. 2. Margaret moves, fast. She kicks Walsh in the shin, grabs for the gun. Eleanor lunges at him, hits him in the stomach with her shoulder. Rose rushes forward. They're kicking him, hitting him. 3 females against 1 armed Gestapo officer. They don't care. They're not giving up anyone. Not Samuel, not Maria, not Father Timothy, not anyone. They'll die first. Walsh drops the act. He steps back, lowers the gun, holds up his free hand. Enough. Stop. Eleanor freezes. Margaret is breathing hard. Rose is between them and Walsh. Walsh removes the cap, sets the gun on the table. The Luger isn't even loaded. You passed, he says. Eleanor feels her legs go weak. She sits down hard on a kitchen chair. Walsh looks at the 3 of them. This is what joining the resistance means. The Gestapo will come for you eventually. They'll threaten you, torture you. They'll put guns to your head. They'll promise to let you live if you just give them 1 name, 1 address, 1 hiding place. He pauses. And you can never break. Because if you break, people die. Good people. Innocent people. He picks up the Luger, ejects the empty magazine, shows it to them. If this had been real, all 3 of you would be dead right now. You attacked an armed officer. That's the kind of courage we need. But courage alone isn't enough. He looks at Eleanor and Margaret. You'll learn to sabotage bridges and railway lines. You'll learn to forge documents. You'll learn to gather intelligence and pass it to Allied forces. He pauses again. Lets the silence build, and you'll learn to shoot Nazis. Margaret looks at Eleanor. Eleanor feels something in her chest. Fear, excitement, purpose, she doesn't know which. Well, Eleanor says, her voice is quiet. That's something I've never done before. Walsh almost smiles. Rose gives them 1 piece of advice before they leave with Walsh that night. Always stay human. No matter what you do, no matter who you kill, stay human. The underground shelter is beneath a condemned factory on Grand Avenue. The building burned in 1938. Insurance company never paid out. Owner abandoned it. Now it's just a shell. Broken windows, collapsed roof. Nobody goes there, except the resistance. The entrance is through a coal chute in the back. Eleanor climbs down a ladder. Margaret follows. Walsh leads them through darkness. The air smells like damp earth and old fire. They reach a room 12 feet below ground. Former coal storage. Brick walls, dirt floor. Oil lamps provide the only light. 6 other resistance fighters are there. Men and women, ages ranging from 19 to 50. They're cleaning weapons, sorting ammunition, planning operations. Walsh introduces Eleanor and Margaret. Nobody seems surprised that they're so young. This is total war. Everyone fights. Walsh hands Eleanor a pistol. Walther PPK, .32 caliber, German-made ironically. We took it off a dead SS officer. 7-round magazine. Effective range about 50 yards, but you'll be shooting much closer than that. The gun is smaller than Eleanor expected, heavier too. Cold metal. It fits in her hand, but barely. This is what you'll carry, Walsh says. small enough to hide in a school bag, a coat pocket, a bicycle basket, reliable, quiet. The .32 round won't penetrate heavy winter coats reliably, but at close range center mass it will kill. He shows her how to load the magazine, how to chamber a round, how to aim, sight alignment, front sight, rear sight target, all three in a line. Squeeze the trigger, don't pull, let the shot surprise you. Week 1. Eleanor fires 50 rounds every day. Her hands hurt. Her ears ring despite the cotton wool Walsh makes her stuff in them. She misses more than she hits at first. Margaret is better. She's older, stronger. Her shots group tighter. But by the end of week 2, Eleanor is hitting center mass on the sandbag target at 15 feet. Every shot. No misses. Week 3. Walsh introduces a Colt M1911, .45 caliber, American-made, much louder, much more recoil. This is for when you need stopping power, Walsh says. One round will drop a man even if you don't hit a vital organ. The shock alone will incapacitate. Eleanor fires at once. The recoil nearly takes the gun out of her hands. The sound is deafening even with ear protection. The sandbag explodes. She fires again and again. By the end of the week, she can control it. Week 4, movement drills. Walsh fires blank rounds near them while they shoot. Teaches them to fire while walking, while running, while backing away from a threat. Eleanor learns to keep her arms extended, to move her feet, to not cross her legs, to maintain sight picture even when her heart is pounding and her hands are shaking and gunfire is cracking in her ears. Week 5, darkness. Walsh turns off the lamps, makes them shoot in complete blackness. They learn to aim by feel, by instinct, by muscle memory developed over hundreds of repetitions. Week 6, scenarios. Walsh sets up situations. You're walking down a street. A Gestapo officer stops you, demands papers. You pull your gun. Where do you aim? How close do you get? When do you fire? How do you escape? Or this one. You're in a building. Guards are coming up the stairs. Do you wait? Do you ambush them? Do you run? If you run, which direction? Or this. You've killed your target. He's on the ground bleeding. Do you fire again to make sure? Do you check for identification? Do you take his weapon? How long do you stay at the scene? Walsh is relentless. If you hesitate, you die. If you miss, you die. If you run the wrong direction, you die. Are you ready to kill? Margaret nods immediately. Eleanor takes longer, but finally she nods too. Yes. They train 6 weeks total, 42 days. By the end, Eleanor can field strip the Walther PPK blindfolded, can load a magazine in 3 seconds, can put 2 rounds center mass at 20 feet in under 2 seconds from concealment. She's 14 years old. Before their first real mission, Rose pulls both daughters aside. They're in the apartment. Late night. Everyone else is asleep. Rose looks tired. She's been working double shifts, cleaning houses, barely sleeping. But her eyes are clear. Always stay human, she says. No matter what you do, no matter who you kill, stay human. Eleanor doesn't ask what that means. She trusts her mother. Margaret just nods. August 1942. Their first mission. Not assassination. Arson. Nazi supply warehouse on Long Wharf. Food, medicine, ammunition, all stolen from American civilians and stored for German troops. The warehouse is guarded. 4 SS soldiers, rotating shifts, well-trained. The resistance can't approach directly, can't sneak in. The guards are too alert. Walsh has a different plan. Eleanor and Margaret will approach the guards. Talk to them. Distract them. While the guards are distracted, 3 resistance fighters will slip in from the waterside. Plant-timed incendiaries. Get out. Eleanor and Margaret will walk away. The guards will never suspect. It works perfectly. Eleanor is 13. She walks up to the checkpoint wearing a summer dress. Looks even younger than she is. Big eyes, innocent smile. One of the guards is maybe 20. Blonde hair, blue eyes. He looks bored. "Excuse me," Eleanor says, in her best little girl voice. "I'm lost. Can you help me find Brewery Street?" The guard softens immediately, smiles, starts giving directions in broken English. Margaret walks up. 15, pretty. She laughs at his accent, touches his arm, asks him where he's from. Bavaria, he says, small town, you wouldn't know it. Margaret asks him what it's like, if he misses home, if he likes America. The other three guards are watching now, distracted, entertained. Two American girls talking to German soldiers like they're just boys. Behind them in the darkness, resistance fighters slip through a gap in the fence. They move fast, silent, plant incendiary devices with timers set for 20 minutes. Margaret keeps talking. Eleanor asks more questions. They stay for 15 minutes. Then Margaret says they have to go. Curfew soon. The guard from Bavaria looks disappointed, asks if they'll come back tomorrow. Maybe, Margaret says. She smiles. Eleanor and Margaret walk away, get on their bicycles, ride 3 blocks. Then they hear it, the explosion. A rolling boom that echoes across the harbor. Flames leap into the night sky, orange and yellow and white hot. The warehouse is burning. Eleanor feels her hands shaking on the handlebars, not from fear, from something else. Excitement, pride, power. They just destroyed Nazi supplies, set back German operations, and the guards never suspected the 2 teenage girls who asked for directions. Walsh meets them at a safe house on Ferry Street. He's listening to reports on a police scanner. Warehouse is gone, he says. Total loss. Germans are calling it sabotage. They're rounding up suspected resistance members. He looks at Eleanor and Margaret. You did well. Eleanor expects to feel guilty, but she doesn't. She feels useful. Walsh sees something in them that night, something he can use. These girls can go places men can't. They can get close to targets no one else can reach. Their youth and their innocence are weapons more powerful than any gun. It's time for them to learn what that really means. September 1942. Eleanor turns 14 on the 3rd. No celebration, no cake, just another day under occupation. Walsh comes to the apartment, sits with Eleanor alone. Margaret is at work. Rose is cleaning houses in East Rock. I have an assignment for you, Walsh says. Eleanor waits. There's a woman, American, Patricia Dunham, 42 years old, former librarian at the New Haven Free Public Library. She lost her job when the Nazis took over. Now she works for them. Walsh slides a photograph across the table. A woman with dark hair pulled back. Severe face, glasses. Dunham maintains the Jewish registry for New Haven County. Names, addresses, who's in hiding, who's helping them. She's been compiling a comprehensive list. 400 people. Eleanor feels cold. We have intelligence that she's meeting with SS Oberfuhrer Wilhelm Kessler on March 3rd, 1943. 2 p.m., New Haven Green. She's going to hand him the list. Walsh looks at Eleanor. That list is a death sentence for 400 people. Men, women, children, entire families. They'll be rounded up, deported, murdered. He pauses. She must not make that meeting. Eleanor understands. You want me to kill her? Walsh nods. You're 14. You look 12. Nobody will suspect you. You'll approach her, confirm her identity, and you'll shoot her. 2 rounds center mass. Then you'll walk to your bicycle and ride away. Eleanor's hands are shaking. She hides them under the table. Can you do this? Walsh asks. Eleanor thinks about the Rosenberg family, the 6-year-old girl who looked back at her from the truck, the trains that leave every Thursday. 400 people. Yes, she says. March 3rd, 1943. The day from the opening. Eleanor rides her bicycle to New Haven Green. The sky is overcast, cold for March. She's wearing her school uniform. Navy blue skirt, white blouse. Her red blonde hair is braided. She looks 12. The Walther PPK is in her school bag. 7 rounds, 1 in the chamber, safety off. She parks her bicycle against an elm tree, walks across the grass. There are people in the park. A man walking his dog, 2 women talking, an old man feeding pigeons, and Patricia Dunham, sitting on a bench, reading the Hartford Courant. Eleanor approaches. Her heart is hammering. She can hear her pulse in her ears. Excuse me, ma'am. Are you Patricia Dunham? The woman looks up, confused. Why is a child asking? Yes. Why Eleanor reaches into her school bag. Her hand closes around the pistol grip. Cold metal. Textured. Familiar. She pulls it out, aims at Patricia Dunham's chest. The woman's eyes go wide. She opens her mouth to scream. Eleanor fires twice. The sound cracks across the park, louder than she expected. Patricia Dunham jerks backward. The newspaper falls from her hands. Blood spreads across her gray coat. Eleanor places the gun back in her bag. Her hands are steady now. Training takes over. She turns, walks to her bicycle, mounts it, rides away down Chapel Street. Behind her, someone is screaming. People run toward the bench, but nobody is looking at the 14-year-old girl on the bicycle. Eleanor rides 6 blocks, parks behind a Chinese restaurant on Crown Street, gets off the bike, leans against the wall, and vomits. She stays there for 10 minutes, shaking. The image of Patricia Dunham's face won't leave her mind. The confusion, the fear, the blood. That night, Eleanor can't sleep. She lies on the mattress next to Margaret, stares at the ceiling, sees Patricia Dunham every time she closes her eyes. Rose sits with her, holds her hand. "You saved 400 people today," Rose says. 400 lives because of what you did. "I know," Eleanor whispers, "but I wanted to help her. After I shot her, I wanted to pick her up." Rose squeezes her hand. "That's how you stay human. The day you don't feel that the day you can kill without remorse, that's the day you become like them." Eleanor cries. Rose holds her. Margaret pretends to sleep, but Eleanor knows she's listening. The next morning, the New Haven Register reports that Patricia Dunham was killed by unknown assailants. The Gestapo launches an investigation. They question hundreds of people, but they find nothing. They're looking for a resistance fighter, a trained assassin, an adult. They're not looking for a 14-year-old girl with braided hair. Over the next 6 months, Eleanor kills 4 more times. Margaret kills 3. American collaborators, Gestapo informants, people who betray their neighbors for money or power or fear. Each time, Eleanor cries afterward. Each time she feels the urge to help her victim, to undo what she's done. But each time she remembers 400 people, or 20 resistance members, or a family hiding in an attic. She stays human, but the weight grows heavier. By March 1943, Eleanor Morrison has killed 5 people. She's 14 years old, still looks 12, still rides her bicycle through New Haven like any other American girl. But she's not any other girl anymore. She's a weapon, and the war is just beginning. April 1943. Eleanor is 14, Margaret is 16. They've killed 8 people between them. But Commander Walsh wants more. He comes to the apartment on a Tuesday evening, brings someone new. A woman, early 20s, tall, distinctive features, bright red hair that catches the lamplight, green eyes, pale skin covered in freckles. "This is Catherine Brennan," Walsh says. Catherine nods at Eleanor and Margaret, doesn't smile. Her hands are clasped in front of her. Proper, controlled. Catherine was studying law at Yale. Walsh continues. 3rd year, top of her class, she was going to be a human rights lawyer. Was Catherine says. Her voice is quiet but firm. 2 weeks ago, the Nazis issued an order. All students must sign a loyalty oath, pledge allegiance to the Greater German Reich, denounce Jewish Bolshevik conspiracy theories, swear to uphold Nazi ideology. Catherine refused. They expelled her immediately, erased 3 years of work, told her to go home to her parents in West Haven, live quietly, be grateful they didn't arrest her. She didn't go home. Walsh sent her to kill a Nazi officer outside a cafe on Crown Street, gave her a Colt M1911, told her to approach from behind, aim for the back of the head, fire. Catherine approached. Her hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold the gun. She raised it, aimed at the officer's skull, pulled the trigger. Click, empty chamber. The magazine was loaded with dummy rounds. The Nazi officer turned around. It was Walsh. She passed the test. She was willing to kill. Now she's sitting in the Morrison apartment, looking at 2 teenage girls who have already done what she only attempted. "We're going to work together," Walsh says. "The 3 of you." Eleanor studies Catherine, sees the difference immediately. Catherine is educated, middle class, Irish Catholic family with money. Father is a teacher, mother volunteers at the church. Catherine grew up with books and piano lessons and college applications. Eleanor and Margaret grew up sharing a bed with strangers. Dropped out of school to work, their hands are rough from labor. Catherine speaks first. I've read about resistance operations in France. There are rules, Geneva Conventions. We should avoid civilian casualties when possible. We should give warnings when we can. We should treat captured enemies humanely. Eleanor looks at her. There are no conventions here. Just bullets. Silence. Margaret leans forward. You ever see someone dragged from their home, loaded onto a train? Watch a mother beg in a language the soldiers don't even try to understand. Catherine's jaw tightens. No. Then don't talk to us about rules, Margaret says. Walsh intervenes. You're going to learn to work together. Catherine, you speak fluent German. You studied European history. You understand how the Nazi command structure works. You can plan operations, forge documents, create alibis. He looks at Margaret. Margaret, you make decisions fast, under pressure. You don't hesitate. You lead. Then at Eleanor. Eleanor, you have a photographic memory. You map escape routes. You memorize patrol schedules. You scout targets. And you're the smallest, the most innocent looking. You can get closest. Walsh stands. Together, you're unstoppable. Separately, you're just three girls the Gestapo will eventually catch and execute. Over the next 2 months, they train together. The class tension slowly dissolves. Catherine learns that Eleanor and Margaret aren't uneducated. They're street smart. They know things no Yale student could ever learn in a classroom. Eleanor learns that Catherine's legal knowledge is useful. She can forge identity papers that pass inspection. She can cite Nazi regulations to talk their way through checkpoints. She knows which German officers have authority to override others. Margaret learns that Catherine is braver than she looks. During a practice scenario, Walsh simulates a Gestapo interrogation, threatens Catherine with torture, with death, with arrest of her parents. Catherine doesn't break, doesn't give up a single name. She earns their respect. By May 1943, the three women are a unit. They develop new methods, refine old ones, and they start killing with ruthless efficiency. The Forest Method, Margaret's specialty. The Taft Hotel on College Street has been converted into an officers' club. Wehrmacht and SS officers drink there every night. American women aren't allowed inside. But the officers come outside to smoke, to get fresh air, to escape the cigarette haze and drunken singing. Margaret dresses carefully, a green dress that fits well, lipstick borrowed from a resistance member, hair curled. She looks older than 16, looks 20. She waits outside the hotel, leans against the building, smoking a cigarette she doesn't want. An officer comes out. Hauptmann, captain, maybe 30 years old, medals on his chest. He's been drinking but not drunk. Margaret makes eye contact, smiles. He approaches. You speak English, she asks. Yes, some. His accent is thick. She touches his arm, laughs at something he says even though it's not funny, leans close. It's loud in there, she says. Want to go for a walk? I know a beautiful spot by the river. The officer looks at her, young, pretty, American girl impressed by a German uniform. He's seen it before. Some American women collaborate horizontally, sleep with occupiers for protection, for food, for survival. He says yes. They always say yes. They walk toward the Quinnipiac River, away from streetlights, away from patrols, into the trees. The officer tries to kiss her. Margaret lets him, briefly, then pulls away. Not here. Further. More private. They go deeper into the woods. Eleanor is already there, hiding behind an oak tree. Walther PPK in her hand. She's been here for 2 hours, waiting, silent. The officer's back is to her. He's focused on Margaret, on what he thinks is going to happen. Eleanor steps out, raises the pistol, aims at the back of his head, fires once. The sound is muffled by the trees. The officer drops, dead before he hits the ground. Margaret and Eleanor drag him to a hole they dug the day before, 3 feet deep, covered with leaves. They roll him in, cover him with dirt and branches. They walk back to their bicycles hidden on the edge of the woods, ride home separately, different routes. Just 2 girls on bicycles. Nothing unusual. They used the Forest Method 6 times between May and July 1943. 6 German officers, all dead, all buried in the Quinnipiac River woods. The bicycle method. Eleanor's specialty. Margaret pedals. Eleanor sits on the rear rack. The Walther PPK is hidden under her coat. They've practiced this 100 times. Balance, timing, accuracy while moving. They ride through downtown New Haven, looking casual, two sisters on a bicycle. They spot a Wehrmacht corporal walking down Crown Street. Off duty, no bodyguards. Just a soldier heading somewhere alone. Margaret pedals faster. Builds speed. They approach from behind. Eleanor pulls the gun, extends her arm. Doesn't aim down the sights. Can't. Too much movement. She aims by instinct, by feel. Fires twice as they pass. The corporal stumbles, falls. Blood spreads across the sidewalk. Margaret doesn't slow down. 2 blocks, 4 blocks, 6 blocks. They ditch the bicycle in an alley off Congress Avenue. Change clothes in a safe house Catherine secured. Burn the coat with gunpowder residue. The Walther PPK goes into a bucket of water. Evidence erased. They kill 4 targets this way. August through September. Quick, clean, no witnesses who can identify them. The doorstep method. Catherine's planning. High-value targets never leave their residences. Collaborators who work from home. Gestapo administrators. People too important or too paranoid to walk the streets. Catherine scouts the target's house. Learns the routine. What time he wakes. When servants leave. When guards change shifts. She finds a vulnerability. A 15-minute window when the target is alone. When he answers his own door because the maid is shopping and the guards are at the back entrance. Eleanor executes. She knocks wearing her school uniform. Looks 12. Carries school books. Innocent. The target opens the door. Sees a child. "Excuse me, sir. I have a message from Commander Kessler. He asked me to deliver it personally." The target leans forward. Confused. What message? Why would Kessler send a child? Eleanor pulls the Walther PPK from her school bag. Fires twice. Point-blank range. The target drops in his own doorway. Margaret appears from the side. They drag the body inside, close the door, exit through the back. Catherine has mapped the escape route, through the neighbor's yard, over a fence, into an alley, to a waiting bicycle. 90 seconds from knock to escape. Eleanor's hands don't shake anymore. She's done this 3 times. Muscle memory, training. Walsh would be proud. They kill 3 collaborators this way, October through December. Men who betrayed resistance members, who maintained lists, who informed on their neighbors. Eleanor still cries after every kill, still feels the urge to help, to undo what she's done. But she doesn't stop. By January 1944, the 3 women have killed a combined total of 19 people. Eleanor has 10 kills, Margaret has 6, Catherine has 3. Then comes the order that defines them. January 15th, 1944. Walsh calls an emergency meeting. Regional Resistance Command has a mission. The target is Heinrich Vogel, regional Nazi commissioner, the most powerful German official in Connecticut. Lives in a commandeered mansion in Branford, surrounded by guards. Armored car, never travels alone. Standard assassination won't work. The plan from command is different. Kidnap Vogel's children, a son aged 8, a daughter aged 6. Hold them hostage. Demand the release of 50 resistance prisoners held at a detention center in New Haven. If Vogel refuses, kill the children. Walsh presents this to Eleanor, Margaret, and Catherine in the underground shelter. He doesn't look comfortable, but he presents it anyway. Long silence. Catherine speaks first. No. Margaret leans back in her chair. We're not Nazis, Eleanor looks at Walsh. Resistance fighters don't murder children. That's the line. We don't cross it. Walsh nods slowly. I agree. I'll tell command the mission is impossible for operational reasons. He looks at the 3 of them. But understand something. This is what separates us from them. The Nazis kill children systematically, in gas chambers, in mass graves, without hesitation, without remorse. He pauses. You've killed 19 people, collaborators, informants, enemy soldiers, but you refuse to kill children. That's humanity. That's the difference between resistance and terrorism, between fighting evil and becoming it. Eleanor feels something settle in her chest, a certainty. Always stay human. Her mother's words. This is what it means. They refuse the mission. Command is angry but accepts it. Finds another approach. A car bomb that kills Vogel 3 weeks later but leaves his children untouched. The line is drawn. Eleanor, Margaret, and Catherine will kill when necessary. But never children, never innocence, never the line that turns them into the thing they're fighting. 2 weeks after refusing the child kidnapping mission, Margaret sees something that will haunt her for 70 years. She's riding her bicycle through Worcester Street. Afternoon, February cold, gray sky. An American SS volunteer is standing in the middle of the street. Thomas Brennan, no relation to Catherine, a 25-year-old from Fairhaven who joined the SS for a monthly salary, for power, for a uniform. He's grabbed an infant from a Jewish family trying to flee. The father is screaming. The baby's older sister, maybe 4 years old, is hysterical. The mother is on her knees begging. Margaret stops her bicycle, watches. Brennan holds the baby up, 18 months old, still in diapers, crying. He looks at the parents. This is what happens when you run. He swings the infant against a brick wall. The sound, Margaret will never forget the sound. The baby stops crying, goes limp, blood on the brick. The mother's scream is inhuman. Animal, a sound Margaret didn't know a human could make. Brennan drops the body, turns to walk away. Margaret doesn't think, doesn't plan, doesn't check for witnesses or plan an escape route. She pulls the Walther PPK from her coat pocket, raises it, aims at Thomas Brennan's face, fires. The bullet enters his right eye, exits the back of his skull. He falls. Margaret fires twice more into his body, empties the magazine. Then she gets on her bicycle and rides away. People are screaming, running. Someone will have seen her, will describe her to the Gestapo, will identify her. She doesn't care. That night, Eleanor finds Margaret sitting alone in the apartment. Rose is hiding refugees. The apartment is full, but Margaret is alone in the corner. That wasn't a mission, Margaret says. Her voice is flat, but I don't regret it. Some things don't need orders. Eleanor sits next to her sister, says nothing. Sometimes silence is the only response. Rose comes over later, kneels in front of Margaret. You stayed human, Rose says. You felt rage at injustice. That's humanity. The day you can watch something like that and feel nothing, that's when you've lost yourself. Margaret nods, but she doesn't cry. She's past crying. By spring 1944, the Gestapo is hunting them. SS Hauptsturmführer Wilhelm Kessler, Yale campus commandant, 42 years old, career officer, efficient, ruthless. He sits in his office in a converted dormitory building, reviews reports. 12 German officers dead since May 1943. 7 American collaborators dead, all shot execution style. Close range, small caliber pistol. Witnesses describe young women, teenage girls, one with distinctive red hair. Kessler doesn't believe it at first. Teenage girls don't kill trained soldiers, but his adjutant shows him the evidence. Crime scene photographs, autopsy reports, witness statements, all consistent. Kessler realizes something that makes his blood cold. They're using innocence as a weapon. He issues new orders. Search all women at checkpoints, regardless of age. Check school bags, bicycle baskets, coat pockets. Interrogate teenage girls. Photograph them. Create a registry. The hunt intensifies. Catherine becomes a liability. Her red hair is too distinctive, too memorable. Witnesses describe her at multiple scenes. A tall woman with bright red hair and green eyes, pale skin, early 20s. The Gestapo issues a specific bulletin. Find the red-haired girl. Catherine dyes her hair black, buys glasses she doesn't need, changes how she walks, tries to disappear, but she doesn't stop fighting. June 19th, 44. The mission that destroys everything. Target, William Ridgewood, American collaborator, former New Haven police officer, now works for the Gestapo as an interrogator. He's betrayed 20 resistance members through torture and manipulation. All 20 are dead. Catherine and a resistance fighter named James Coleman take the assignment. Coleman is 28, Yale graduate student in chemistry before the occupation. He's been with the resistance since 1942. They find Ridgewood at his home. a small house on Wally Avenue. Evening, he's alone. His wife took the children to visit family in Hartford. The plan is simple. Break in, shoot him, leave. It goes wrong immediately. Coleman kicks the door open. Ridgewood is sitting at his kitchen table. He sees them. Reaches for a pistol he keeps in a drawer. Coleman fires first, hits Ridgewood in the shoulder. Ridgewood falls, but he's screaming, loud. Neighbors will hear. Catherine runs in, fires twice, hits Ridgewood in the chest. He stops screaming. But he's not dead yet. Gurgling, choking on blood. Footsteps outside. A German patrol heard the shots. 2 blocks away, but closing fast. Catherine runs for the back door. Coleman follows. The patrol enters through the front, sees Coleman, fires. Coleman is hit in the stomach. He falls, tries to crawl, can't. Catherine is already gone. Through the back, over a fence, into an alley. She hears more gunfire behind her. Then silence. Coleman is captured. Still alive. Barely. They take him to Yale New Haven Hospital. Under guard. Surgeons work on him, but the damage is catastrophic. Stomach wound, intestines perforated, bleeding internally. He's dying and everyone knows it. Gestapo interrogators come to his bedside. They ask him questions. They ask him, "Who sent you? Who else is in your cell? Where do you meet? What are your names?" Coleman refuses to answer. Even dying, even in agony. He gives them nothing. So they try something different. A Gestapo officer takes off his uniform, puts on civilian clothes, enters Coleman's room alone, speaks English without an accent. "James, I'm from the resistance. Frank Walsh sent me. We're going to get you out of here. But I need information. I need to know who else is compromised so we can warn them." Coleman is delirious. Blood loss, morphine, pain. His mind is failing. He believes the officer. He gives up Catherine's address. Her parents' home in West Haven. Says she's hiding there. The officer writes it down. Leaves. Coleman dies 20 minutes later. Never knows what he's done. June 20th. The Gestapo raids the Brennan house in West Haven. Catherine isn't there. She's hiding in a church basement on Grand Avenue. Has been since the Ridgewood mission went wrong. But her parents are home. Richard Brennan, 52, high school English teacher. Grace Brennan, 49, volunteers at Sacred Heart Church. The Gestapo arrests them both, drags them into the street, loads them into a truck. Neighbors watch. Nobody intervenes. Richard and Grace Brennan are taken to a detention center, processed, put on a train to the deportation camp on Long Island. Catherine learns about it the next day. A resistance member tells her. She breaks down, cries for the first time since joining the resistance. Eleanor and Margaret come to the church basement. "Hold her. We'll get them out," Margaret says. But they all know it's a lie. Nobody escapes the camps. Catherine goes completely underground. July through December 1944. She can't operate anymore. If she's captured, everyone she knows dies. The Gestapo will torture her, break her, get every name, every location, every plan. She hides, helps with planning, forges documents, but doesn't go on missions. Eleanor and Margaret continue alone. The summer and fall of 1944 are brutal. They sabotage railway lines, derail 3 deportation trains heading to Long Island. 96 people escape in the chaos. Most disappear into the resistance network. They forge identity papers for Jewish families, create new identities, new histories, help them relocate to rural areas where Nazi control is weaker. They gather intelligence on German troop movements, pass information to Allied forces through resistance radio operators, help coordinate bombing runs on German supply depots, and they kill. 12 more targets between July and December. 8 German officers, 4 collaborators. Eleanor's count reaches 18. Margaret reaches 15. They're 16 and 18 years old. Eleanor still cries after every kill. The weight is crushing now. She sees faces when she closes her eyes, hears the gunshots, smells the blood, but she doesn't stop. "You never stop seeing their faces," she'll say 70 years later. "Every person you kill, they stay with you." That weight never lifts. By Christmas 1944, Allied forces are pushing toward the East Coast. Everyone knows the occupation is ending. Nazi forces are collapsing. Surrender is inevitable. Days, maybe weeks. But Catherine can't stay hidden forever. Her parents are still in the Long Island camp. She needs to do something. Anything. March 15th, 1945. Catherine emerges. She dyes her hair black again. Wears the glasses. Carries forged identity papers that identify her as Mary Sullivan. 23. Secretary. Her mission is simple. Distribute underground newspapers. The Free American. Special edition announcing that Allied forces have liberated Philadelphia. That liberation is coming to Connecticut. Give people hope. She puts copies of the newspaper in her bicycle basket, plus the Walther PPK, just in case. She rides through New Haven. Early afternoon. Overcast sky. Checkpoint at the corner of Chapel and York. Nazi soldiers. Routine search. Catherine tries to stay calm. Her papers are good. The best forgeries the resistance has ever produced. Papers. She hands them over. The soldier examines them, looks at her face. Back at the papers. Looks again at her face. Open your bag. Catherine hesitates. 1 second too long. The soldier dumps her bicycle basket. Newspapers scatter across the street. The Free American, dozens of copies, and the Walther PPK. It clatters onto the pavement. Catherine is arrested. Eleanor and Margaret are watching from across the street. They'd been following Catherine, worried about her, wanting to protect her. They see the soldiers grab her, see her hands pulled behind her back, see her forced into a truck. Margaret starts to move forward. Eleanor grabs her arm. Too many soldiers. Any move means all three of them die. They watch Catherine driven away. Margaret looks at Eleanor. We'll get her out, I promise. But they both know the truth. They're never going to see Catherine Brennan again. Yale New Haven Gestapo headquarters, a converted dormitory building on College Street. Catherine is taken to the basement. Interrogation room, 8 feet by 6 feet, concrete walls, single light bulb, metal chair bolted to the floor, no windows. They sit her down, handcuff her wrists to the chair arms. Wait. Catherine sits alone for 6 hours. The light never turns off. No food, no water, no bathroom. Psychological pressure, breaking her down before the interrogation even begins. Finally, an officer enters. SS Sturmbannführer, Major, gray uniform, death's head insignia on his collar. He speaks perfect English. Name, Mary Sullivan. Real name, Mary Sullivan. He hits her, open palm across the face, hard enough to snap her head sideways. Her lip splits. Blood runs down her chin. Real name, Catherine Brennan. He sits, lights a cigarette, offers her one. She refuses. You're a student, Yale University, law. 3rd year. Correct, former student. You refuse to sign the loyalty oath. Yes, brave, stupid, but brave. He takes a drag. We found newspapers in your bag, the Free American. Underground publication. Illegal. 20 copies. You were distributing them. Catherine says nothing. We also found a pistol, Walther PPK, .32 caliber, German weapon. Interesting. Where did you get it? Catherine stays silent. The officer leans forward. That particular pistol was taken from the body of SS Hauptmann Friedrich Meyer. He was found dead in the Quinnipiac River woods, September 1943, shot once in the back of the head. He pauses. You killed him. No, we'll see. The interrogation lasts 4 hours. They ask about resistance members, safe houses, weapons caches, radio operators, everything. Catherine gives them nothing. They move to physical torture. Waterboarding. They strap her to a board, tilt her head down, pour water over her face. She can't breathe. Drowning. They stop just before she passes out. Let her gasp for air. Then do it again. Beatings, fists, boots, broken ribs. Her face swells. One eye shuts completely. Sleep deprivation, lights on constantly. Interrogations every 4 hours, no rest, no sleep. Days blur together. Catherine doesn't break. Doesn't give them Eleanor. Doesn't give them Margaret. Doesn't give them Walsh. Doesn't give them safe houses or weapons or plans. Nothing. 3 weeks pass, March 15th to April 5th. The Gestapo knows they've captured someone important. The pistol connects her to at least one assassination. The newspapers prove resistance involvement, but they need her to confirm it, to give them names. April 5th, 1945. A guard notices something. Catherine's hair is growing out. The black dye is fading at the roots. Bright red underneath. The guard reports it. The information travels up the chain. Reaches Kessler's desk. Kessler reviews the witness reports from 1943 and 44. Tall woman, early 20s. Red hair, green eyes, pale skin. He goes to the interrogation room, looks at Catherine. Her face is bruised beyond recognition. Both eyes swollen, nose broken, lips split. But her hair, the roots are unmistakably red. "We found you," he says, the red-haired girl. Catherine looks at him through her one functioning eye, says nothing. Kessler brings in photographs, crime scenes, dead German officers, dead collaborators, 19 separate incidents. "How many did you kill?" Catherine's voice is hoarse from screaming during waterboarding. "Enough." Kessler almost smiles. "You're going to be executed. You understand that?" "Yes, but first you're going to tell me every name, every location, every plan. We have methods. We can make you talk." Catherine spits blood on the floor. "I've already told you everything." Nothing. They torture her for 6 more days, April 6th through April 11th. But she's past breaking now. Pain is just sensation. The body fails, but the mind holds. She protects her friends until the very end. April 11th, evening. Catherine asks for paper and pen. The guards allow it. She writes a letter to her parents. "Mom and Dad, I'm sorry I couldn't save you. But I saved others, hundreds of others, and I stayed human. That's what matters. I love you, Catherine." The letter is never delivered. The guards throw it away. Richard and Grace Brennan die in the Long Island deportation camp 2 weeks later. They never learn what happened to their daughter, never know she died trying to free them. April 12th, 1945. 5 days before Allied forces will liberate New Haven. 5 days. There's an agreement between Nazi command and resistance leadership, negotiated through neutral intermediaries. Stop all executions. Surrender is imminent. The war is over. No more bloodshed. Most German officers comply. They know it's finished. No point in creating more war crimes to answer for when the Americans arrive. But Wilhelm Kessler doesn't comply. He wants Catherine Brennan dead. She killed his men, humiliated his command, made the Gestapo look incompetent. Teenage girls running circles around trained SS officers. It's personal now. He orders her execution. 2 executioners are assigned, both American SS volunteers, traitors to their own country who joined the occupation forces for power and money. Marcus Schmidt, 41 years old, former New Haven police officer. He joined the SS in 1942 when his pension was threatened, needed the income, justified it as survival. Now he's killed 16 resistance fighters and 3 Jewish families. Martin Cooper, 26 years old, former Yale student, expelled for cheating in 1941. Bitter, resentful. When the Nazis occupied, he saw an opportunity, joined the SS, became an interrogator, enjoys the work. They take Catherine from her cell at dawn, April 12th, clear sky, spring warmth in the air. She can barely walk. Broken ribs, infected wounds, weeks of torture. They half-drag her to a truck, drive to the Quinnipiac River woods, the same woods where she killed 6 German officers, where she and Eleanor and Margaret hunted together. Now she's being taken there to die. The truck stops. They pull her out, walk her into the trees, deep enough that the city can't see, can't hear. Catherine knows this place, recognizes the clearing. She helped dig holes here, helped bury German officers in unmarked graves. Now it's her grave. Schmidt and Cooper force her to kneel, hands bound behind her back. Her red hair has grown out completely now, bright and unmistakable. Schmidt raises his Luger pistol. Standard SS sidearm, 9mm. He aims at the back of Catherine's head, execution style. Fires. The bullet grazes her skull, doesn't penetrate, just tears through scalp and skin. Deflects off bone. Catherine screams, falls forward. Blood pours down her face and neck, soaks her prison uniform. But she's not dead. The pain is blinding. White hot. She can't see through the blood, can't hear over the ringing in her ears. Schmidt is swearing, reloading, he's shaking. He's killed before, but never with the victim watching. Never face to face like this. Catherine turns her head, blood covering half her face, one eye swollen shut, the other staring at Schmidt. She speaks. Her voice is steady despite everything. I shoot better than you. Martin Cooper steps forward. He's not shaking. He raises an MP-40 submachine gun, German-made, 32-round magazine, 9mm, aims at Catherine's chest, fires a burst, 5 rounds, full automatic. The sound echoes through the woods. Catherine Brennan dies in the clearing, age 24. Her body falls, blood soaks into the dirt. Schmidt and Cooper drag her to a shallow grave. They're supposed to bury her completely, cover all evidence. But they're in a hurry. Allied forces are close. They can hear artillery in the distance. They throw dirt over her body. Not enough. The grave is only 18 inches deep. They leave, true. Catherine Brennan lies in the shallow grave. Her bright red hair is still visible above the dirt, strands of it catching the morning sunlight. 5 days later, the war ends. April 17th, 1945. American forces enter New Haven. 7th Infantry Division. Mechanized cavalry. Tanks rolling down Chapel Street. The German garrison surrenders without fighting. White flags hang from Yale buildings. SS officers burn documents, destroy evidence, try to disappear into the civilian population. Wilhelm Kessler is captured, trying to flee dressed as a civilian. He's identified by a resistance member. Arrested. He'll be tried for war crimes, executed in 1946. Marcus Schmidt and Martin Cooper are also captured. Both are tried. Both are hanged for treason and murder. May 1945. Eleanor and Margaret Morrison survive. Eleanor is 16. Margaret is 18. They're alive. They made it. But Catherine didn't. The resistance begins searching immediately. Looking for bodies. Looking for prisoners who might still be alive in detention centers. They search the Quinnipiac River woods. The execution ground. They find 387 bodies. Mass graves. Shallow pits. Resistance fighters. Political prisoners. Jews. Hostages. 386 men. And 1 woman. They find her by the color. Unmistakable red against brown earth. 5 days in a shallow grave, but her hair still catches light. Catherine Brennan. Identified by dental records. By the prison uniform. By her distinctive hair. They exhume her carefully, reverently. Eleanor and Margaret are there. They watch as Catherine's body is lifted from the ground. Eleanor vomits. Margaret stands perfectly still. Face blank, eyes dry. They'll cry later, in private. But not here. Catherine Brennan is given a state funeral. Connecticut Governor Raymond Baldwin orders it personally. She's declared a hero of the resistance, symbol of American courage. The funeral is held at Sacred Heart Church on Park Street. Thousands attend, military honor guard, and American flags. The casket is draped in red, white, and blue. Governor Baldwin gives the eulogy. Catherine Brennan was a patriot, a freedom fighter. She gave her life so that others might live free. She represents the very best of American values: courage, sacrifice, unwavering commitment to justice. Eleanor and Margaret attend in civilian clothes. They sit in the back. Nobody knows who they are. They receive no recognition, no medals, no speeches. After the funeral, Eleanor approaches Catherine's casket, lays a single red rose on top, says nothing, walks away. Outside the church, a reporter from the New Haven Register tries to interview resistance members, asks Eleanor if she knew Catherine Brennan. No, Eleanor says. I didn't know her. The reporter moves on. Why don't they receive recognition? Why no medals, no honors, no acknowledgement of what they did? Because Rose Morrison is a socialist, has been since the 1920s. Union organizer, political radical. The kind of person who believes workers should own the means of production, who thinks capitalism creates inequality, who wants revolution. In 1945, the Cold War is beginning. The Soviet Union is transitioning from ally to enemy. Anyone with leftist politics is viewed with suspicion. Rose's daughters are guilty by association, politically unreliable. Their service is ignored. Their sacrifice is dismissed. The sisters who risk their lives to save their country are treated like potential threats. Margaret copes by creating. She moves to New York City in 1946, studies sculpture at Cooper Union on the GI Bill. Even though she wasn't officially in the military, a sympathetic administrator falsifies records, gets her enrolled. She becomes a sculptor. Her work focuses on resistance, on sacrifice, on memory. Abstract pieces representing loss and survival and the weight of killing. She creates a memorial for Catherine. Bronze, 7 feet tall, a woman with flowing hair, eyes closed, hands open. She donates it to the city of New Haven. It's installed in Edgewood Park in 1952. Nobody asked Margaret how she knew Catherine well enough to create such an intimate memorial. Margaret writes a memoir in 1967, The Bicycle War. She tells everything: names, dates, methods, killings. The book sells 400 copies. Nobody wants to read about socialist resistance fighters. Nobody wants to hear about teenage girls killing Nazis. It's too uncomfortable, too violent, too female. The book goes out of print in 1968. Margaret speaks at small gatherings, veterans groups, historical societies, high school classrooms when teachers invite her. But mainstream America ignores her. She dies on June 15, 2016, age 89. Heart failure. She's cremated. Her ashes are scattered in the Quinnipiac River woods, the place where she and Eleanor and Catherine hunted together. Eleanor takes a different path. She tries to forget. In 1947, she marries James Decker, 24 years old, Army veteran, fought in the Pacific, saw combat in the Philippines. He has nightmares. So does Eleanor. They understand each other. 3 children. Susan, born 1948, Thomas, born 1950, Robert, born 1953. Eleanor becomes a housewife. Suburban home in Hamden. White picket fence. PTA meetings. Church on Sundays. Garden club. Everything normal. Everything safe. Everything the opposite of war. She never tells her children what she did. When Susan asks, "Mom, what did you do during the war?" Eleanor says, "I helped people." That's all. The children don't learn the truth until they're adults, until after Eleanor's death, when they find Margaret's memoir and her belongings. But Eleanor can't escape the past. Insomnia. She sleeps 3 to 4 hours a night, never more. Her husband asks if she wants to see a doctor. She refuses. Nightmares. She sees faces. Patricia Dunham, the German officers, the collaborators. Sometimes they speak to her, ask why. She has no answer. Every year on May 4th, Remembrance Day in Connecticut, Eleanor wakes up with dread, stays in her room, doesn't leave the house. Her family learns not to ask. Her hands shake sometimes, for no reason, just start trembling. She hides them under the table, waits for it to pass. People ask her occasionally, neighbors who learn bits of her history, reporters doing stories on the resistance. How many people did you kill? Eleanor always gives the same answer. One should not ask a soldier any of that. She never says the number, not to her husband, not to her children, not to historians, not to anyone. Some things you carry alone. She visits Catherine's grave every year. Edgewood Cemetery, Section C, Plot 47, always on April 12th, the anniversary of Catherine's death. She brings red roses, places them on the headstone, sits for an hour, says nothing out loud. But she talks to Catherine in her mind. "I'm sorry we didn't save you. I'm sorry we couldn't get to you in time. I'm sorry you died and we lived. I'm sorry." Catherine never answers. The years pass. 1950, 1960, 1970. The world changes. The occupation becomes history, then becomes distant history, then becomes something most people don't remember. Eleanor and Margaret grow old in silence. Nobody thanks them. Nobody honors them. Nobody remembers. Until 2010, a Dutch filmmaker releases a documentary about Freddie Overstegen, a real historical figure, a Dutch resistance fighter who killed Nazis as a teenager during World War II. The documentary goes viral. Millions of views, international acclaim. American historians watch it. Something clicks. We had resistance fighters too, during the alternate occupation. Where are they? What happened to them? Research begins. Archives are searched, records examined, names found. Eleanor Morrison, Margaret Morrison, Catherine Brennan. Historians track down Eleanor and Margaret, both still alive. Eleanor is 82, Margaret is 84, living quietly, forgotten. The historians are shocked. These women killed dozens of Nazis and collaborators. They saved hundreds of lives. They were teenage assassins, heroes. Why has nobody heard of them? The historians publish articles, give interviews, create a documentary, pressure the Connecticut state government. May 20th, 2014. Connecticut Governor Daniel Malloy invites Eleanor and Margaret to the state capitol in Hartford. Ceremony in the Capitol Rotunda. Press present. Cameras, officials. Governor Malloy awards them the Connecticut Medal of Valor, the state's highest civilian honor for wartime service. Eleanor is 86 years old. She can barely walk, uses a cane. Her hands shake constantly now. Margaret is 88, sharper, steadier. She accepts the medal with quiet dignity. The governor makes a speech. These women represent the very best of American courage. As teenagers, they fought an occupying force. They risked everything. They saved countless lives. And they did it without recognition, without reward, without thanks. He pauses. Today, 69 years late, we say thank you. Eleanor's son Robert is there. He's 61 years old. He watches his mother receive the medal. Later, he'll tell a reporter, it was the happiest day of her life. After 69 years, someone finally said thank you. Streets are renamed. Morrison Sisters Way, the former Wooster Street where they grew up, Catherine Brennan Memorial Park, the Quinnipiac River Woods where she hunted and where she died. Books are written, documentaries filmed, articles published. For 2 years, Eleanor and Margaret are celebrated, interviewed, honored. Then Margaret dies. June 15th, 2016. Heart failure. 89. Eleanor attends the funeral. She's 88 now. Frail. Her mind is still sharp, but her body is failing. She stands at Margaret's grave. Doesn't cry. She's past crying. She's alone now. The last one left. Eleanor and Margaret and Catherine. 3 girls who killed Nazis. Now only Eleanor remains. 2 years later. September 4th, 2018. Eleanor Morrison dies of pneumonia. Yale New Haven Hospital. The same hospital where James Coleman died after betraying Catherine. Where German officers were treated during the occupation. Full circle. She's 89 years old. 364 days old. One day before her 90th birthday, her children are with her. Susan, Thomas, Robert, all in their 60s now. Eleanor's last words are to Robert. Tell them I stayed human. Then she closes her eyes. She's buried next to James Decker, her husband of 71 years. Beaverdale Memorial Park. Section H. Small funeral. Family only. No state ceremony. No politicians. No speeches. Just 3 old people burying their mother. Robert places something in the casket before they close it. A Walther PPK. Deactivated. Legal. But the same model Eleanor carried for 3 years. Just in case she needs it, he says. After Eleanor's death, historians compile the final statistics. Total confirmed kills, 53 to 65. Exact number unknown. Eleanor Morrison. 25 to 30. Margaret Morrison. 20 to 25. Catherine Brennan. 8 to 10. Lives saved. 400 to 600. Jewish families warned. Resistance members protected. Deportation trains derailed. Chiao at first kill. Eleanor 14. Margaret 16. Catherine 23. Years until recognition. 69. Today you can visit Morrison Sisters Way in New Haven, the street where Eleanor and Margaret grew up, where Rose Morrison hid refugees in a 3rd-floor walk-up, where 2 girls learned that courage means helping others even when it costs everything. You can visit Catherine Brennan Memorial Park, the Quinnipiac River Woods, where 3 young women hunted Nazi officers, where Catherine died 5 days before liberation, where her red hair was found catching sunlight through shallow dirt. And you can visit Eleanor's grave, Beaverdale Memorial Park, Section H, Someone left flowers there yesterday. Fresh red roses. A handwritten note tucked between the stems. Thank you for staying human. The note isn't signed. Nobody knows who left it. But every year on April 12th, the anniversary of Catherine's death, fresh roses appear on all three graves. Eleanor's, Margaret's, Catherine's. Red roses, always red. Someone remembers. Eleanor Morrison was 14 years old when she became an assassin. Red blonde hair and braids. Walther PPK in her bicycle basket. School uniform and Mary Jane shoes polished that morning. She killed 25 to 30 people before her 17th birthday. She lived to be 89 years old. One day short of 90. She carried the weight for 73 years. And on her deathbed with her children around her, she smiled. Because she knew the truth that took 69 years for her country to admit. That she fought. That she sacrificed. That she saved hundreds of lives. That she stayed human when the world became inhuman. That innocence wielded with courage is the deadliest weapon of all. Her last words were to her son Robert. Tell them I stayed human. He did, and now you know.